And we are live.
Now
Yes,
we're live.
we are.
Yes.
And it's the Joe and Joe weather show going into the Memorial Day weekend.
Can you believe it's Memorial Day weekend already?
I know. Both of us with FiOS One News. I do Long Island and New Jersey, and Joe does Lower Hudson Valley.
Yes.
All right.
And when one of us is not here, the other one does all of the things. So
But today we're both here, so we're
Yes.
both doing our thing.
I can't believe well, I think it was partly due to the fact that we had such a late Easter. I mean, literally a month ago we had Easter.
5 months of the year are gone already.
Unbelievable.
So this, it's practically, well, it's not technically not summer, but June, July, August, your three warmest months of the year.
Meteorological summer.
Yeah, so it's just about here. Another busy day and night in severe weatherland. So busy that the Yankees had their game called off tonight.
Where are they playing?
KC.
Oh, well, of course.
Kansas City.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And the Mets scored a run tonight.
They've been going back and forth. It's 6 to as of you're watching this right now, as of 9:23, it's 6-6
Eastern time.
At one point, the Mets were down like 3 or 4 runs, and it's crazy. They come back, they go ahead, but they don't have a pitching staff this year, Joe. I don't know why. They can't hold the lead.
Oh.
You know?
All right, so we got the Memorial Day weekend. This is the weekend that usually winds up being troublesome on at least one of the days, sometimes two, and on occasion even all three. But
Right.
it looks to me, it's probably as good a weekend as you could put together. Where whatever rain we're going to get is going to be
Saturday night
and Sunday night. So it's confined to the time. Although I think Sunday it might come a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But Saturday night's stuff will probably come when all the dayside activities are done for sure.
Right. I'd say after like 9 or 10 o'clock. So even if you go out, let's say for dinner or to an early evening movie, you shouldn't be in any danger of not being without an umbrella, but by later in the night on Saturday night into the wee hours of Sunday morning, showers, maybe a little rumble or two of thunder, and then on Sunday, it's going to be decidedly warmer and more humid. We might even use the word muggy to describe Sunday, Joe.
Well, Sunday is the warmest of the 3 days. Saturday is going to be the coolest of the 3 days, more than likely, because I think we're going to have more of a south wind and a bit of an ocean component.
Right.
And then we have Monday, which will be somewhere in between, but it'll be reasonably comfortable and dry and nice, mid-70s to low 80s, I was thinking.
It'll be lovely. And I mentioned on my Facebook page, the only thing that is missing, or the only thing that's different from a Memorial Day now as opposed to, let's say, 40 or 50 years ago, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, you always had a baseball doubleheader. Every team had a doubleheader to celebrate the holiday.
I remember.
No doubleheaders. They've gone the way of the dodo bird. Only when they're forced into a doubleheader because of a rainout or the team is not going to be coming back to that city for a while. Then you have the doubleheader. But on Monday, Memorial Day, beautiful day here. The Mets are going to be in Los Angeles. I don't know where the Yankees are going to be. They'll probably be home. I would assume they're going to be home.
Right.
And they'll have a beautiful day. And I hope they're playing in the afternoon. I mean, you don't want to waste a beautiful holiday afternoon by playing at night.
Well, since it's a Friday night, take a few questions and comments. Well, I always try to go to the chat board, but we'll start right off the bat. Mike Talley asks, "Are these front?" And you can ask us anything, by the way, almost anything.
Almost anything.
Are these fronts Saturday night and Sunday night?
Well, the front that's going to be generating the shower activity tomorrow night is a warm front. That's why it's going to be so much warmer and more humid on Sunday as opposed to what we're going to see tomorrow, the warm front. And initially, we're going to start seeing mid and high level clouds in our sky in the midday and afternoon out ahead of the warm front. And then tomorrow night, it could generate some spotty rain, maybe a rumble or thunder. Sometimes warm fronts do that. The front on Sunday night, Joe, it will be a cold front. And that'll be ushering in a drier and cleaner and much more comfortable air mass. And that could set the stage for some convective activity late on Sunday afternoon, or hopefully holding off until after Sunday.
And the Storm Prediction Center does not have our area in any risk for severe for either Saturday or Sunday. And
Not just general.
yeah, and I think Saturday's, excuse me, the Saturday one being more warm frontal in nature, and Sunday the cold front in nature. I'm thinking probably the Sunday night storms, if there's a chance either one would be stronger. Maybe that one will with the heating.
Yeah.
David Schwartz says sounds like a nice beach day tomorrow, though. Yeah, but if you're going to the shore, I'd bring a windbreaker with me, because especially on Long Island, it may only be in the on the immediate beaches. It may barely be 60 because there'll be a south wind, and even inland on Long Island, a lot of spots are going to have a tough time getting to 70. Jersey Shore, the immediate shore, the same. I'd have a jacket handy.
And not only that, tomorrow, if you're going to the beach or you want to get a suntan, now I know that the ultraviolet rays go through clouds, but still, if you'd like a nice bright day, the sun is going to be available in the morning, but by the time we get to the afternoon, the sun is going to start pulling a fade out behind that increasing and thickening deck of clouds in advance of the warm fronts. The brighter of the two regular weekend days, I think, Joe, will be Sunday.
Erica Baker says you and I are the two smartest weather guys on the net.
Really?
That's what she says.
Well,
yeah.
we look, the bespectacled look, gives you this influential type of it, and also the gray hair. As
yes.
Well. Yes.
Erica Baker, by the way, has been sending me, posting on my Facebook page, river reports from areas in northeast Oklahoma and southwest Missouri and northwestern Arkansas. The rainfall there I was showing SPC's rainfall maps for the next 7 days for a while, and I pulled up the actual rainfall that has occurred in the last 7 days, and it goes it goes to how good that those guys at WPC are, because they really pretty much nailed it. 10 to 15 inches of rain has fallen so far in that zone there, northeastern Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, and areas nearby. And the pattern is suggestive that there are going to be severe weather threats continuing in the southern plains into the middle part of next week.
It's been just incredible. This particular year, 2019, the level or the amount of drought for this country as a whole is about as low as anybody has ever seen it. I think only about 10 or 11% of the country is in drought. And you think back to maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, there was like 2/3 of the country was in drought. Severe drought was occurring in California and Nevada and that area. And now all of a sudden the whole thing is just flipped. And now we're just getting too much of the wet stuff.
Well, take a look at this. Hang on, I'm going to just give me a second here. So this is the rainfall across the U.S. in the last 7 days. Coast to coast, except for the southeast.
This is incredible.
Yeah, except for the southeast, which has gotten very little. And the rest of the country has been just swamped with rain. Well, I would say swamped. But at the very least, the rest of the country has gotten average rainfall. In fact, I think I got to find it. Here it is. So this is normal. This is what normal rainfall would look like over the last 7-day period, with half an inch everywhere east of the Rockies, and it's normal for much of the area that's getting hit with heavy rain now to get at least an inch of rain over the last 7 days. And of course, you see how dry it is in the southwest, and starts to get dry through the Rockies and going northward. So that was the normal rainfall. And then I'll switch that to the observed rainfall. I mean, that's insane.
It's crazy.
The lightest green is a half an inch. So relatively speaking, the West has actually gotten much more rain relative to normal, and that's because of the deep trough there. But look at those, that huge rain, those big rainfall amounts. And this is what I was talking about with WPC. And what Erica was talking, the river levels in these areas is enormously high.
That strip of purple
is 10 to
15 inches. It's
and
crazy.
This is the last 24 hours. Hang on. This is the last 7. So this is the last. This is not including today. the day side today. This goes to 8 o'clock. Since up to 8 o'clock this morning.
Right.
So this carries over since 8 o'clock yesterday morning, and you've got some strips here that got 3-4 inches of rain just in the last 24 hours, and of course the rain today raining out the Yankee game in KC.
I mean, you think about even
Yeah,
even what we went through. It
just show
seemed like the
everybody
entire,
again.
like every single day in April, we had some measurable precipitation. It's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't pull up the window for everybody. Just really fast. Let me just show you the normal. If you want, I mentioned this on my earlier show. If you go, it's water.weather.gov/precip, and you get. It's an interactive map. You just you can pull up the different data here. So again, this was the last 7 days. They saw this on my earlier show, but just going through the whole U.S. from coast to coast, and this is what the normal rainfall looks like from coast to coast in that particular week.
Yeah.
So again, it's been just it's as you said. There's no drought. There's no place that's dry.
And the funny thing is, and now I don't want to start opening a can of worms here.
Oh, go on.
But 5 or 6 years ago, when we had extreme drought in California, and when we had about 2/3 of the country in drought, everybody was saying, "Oh, this is a sign of global warming, and this is a sign of climate change, or whatever." Well, what do you call this? I mean, you can't have it both ways. I mean, if anybody starts calling this climate change and global warming, then what was
Because
what we
it
had
doesn't matter,
weeks
Joe.
ago?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Even when it's normal, it's not normal.
It is.
See, this is something that.
Well, Tex Antoine used to say normal is
Well, look.
abnormal.
Here's how it was described by someone who I read from time to time, and I think he's a very good weather forecaster he's on his platform is on Twitter, Cranky Weather Guy, and he made this point, and you know, when I read it, I thought, my God, that exactly describes it. You have this sort of amorphous phrase called climate change, but what you never hear anybody address is change from what, or change to what.
Right.
Okay, when you're calling it change, you're inferring that, well, there was a prior state. So so very simply, can you at least define what we're changing from, so that I can have some kind of context
I think it became popular to say climate change because
during you couldn't market global warming when it was 20 below.
That's true. That's absolutely true. It was difficult to push the term global warming. People would come back and say, I've had a whole week of temperatures like 0 or 10 degrees. This is talking about out in the plain state somewhere. And snow, heavy snowfalls or whatever. Yeah. So then they said, all right, let's figure out another thing.
But what winds up happening, Joe, it gets wrapped up in this social media hysteria. Right. I mean, it gets taken up to, it drizzles and it becomes epic.
Right. Well, this is what bothers me. That 5 or 6 years ago, when we were having the extreme drought conditions, not just in California but also through much of the nation, you would see these reports and you would see either the person who compiled the report or some expert say, well, this is obviously due to global warming or climate change or whatever, and we have to expect more of this in the coming years ahead. Now, all of a sudden, we've seen the whole thing flip-flop in 5 or 6 years. And just the other day, I'm watching the heavy rains and the floods and everything else going on, and you see the person doing the report saying, another reason that climate change is... And I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on. 5 and 6 years ago, it was dry as a bone. You said it was climate change and global warming. Now you're getting all the rain that you wanted 5 or 6 years ago, but now you're saying it's because of global warming, climate change.
Well, and that's which goes back to the original thing that I said with regards to
every time we go from one end of the spectrum to the other, it's climate change.
Right. And this is not saying that there isn't climate change going on, but I would just like to see it unraveled from. I would like to see the conversation, and it's never going to happen. I would like to see it unraveled outside of the media hysteria and spoken of, because ultimately then it becomes wrapped into politics. It becomes wrapped into redistribution of money from, because at the end of the day, it's about economics, money, and power. But it all gets wrapped up together, and it winds up being who can shout the loudest. Just because you can shout loud doesn't mean that it's true.
Right.
It means that you may need a throat lozenge. Okay. So somehow we got onto this.
I don't know. It's whose fault was it that brought this up?
I don't know.
In the rivers and everything else.
Oh,
Was it
well,
Monica?
no, it was Erica. We don't.
Erica.
We like Erica. We support her.
All right.
Okay. So Keith James wants to know, how's the weather looking for Tuesday evening after Memorial Day? He has a big charity softball game in the evening. Well, where is this charity softball game, Keith? Let's give it a plug here. If it's a charity softball game, let's help the charity. Type down where it is.
Let's assume it's here in the tri-state
Okay,
New York area.
so-
And it looks like to me, I don't know how closely you looked at Tuesday's weather, but to me it looks like that we'll be in for some maybe some steady rain in the early to middle part of the day, and that should hopefully move on out.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure. These warm fronts in the last week have not been powerhouses that have come through. Even the one that sets up tomorrow, it's going to be dry most of the day. So I threw in that there could be
Paramus, New Jersey.
Okay, I threw in that there could be there is definitely going to be a shower or thunderstorm risk, or maybe, as Joe said, a period of rain to deal with. But check back tomorrow, because that might move through and set up just to the north, and in which case you could wind up being okay.
Let's put it another way. If it doesn't rain, it's like that's the exception. I mean, even let's take tomorrow and Sunday. It's going to go down in the record books as, a bit of measurable precipitation, be it tomorrow night or late Sunday or Sunday night. It blows my mind that almost every day it's been very, very difficult to have a day like today go, straight through without having any precipitation.
By the way, it snowed in Flagstaff yesterday.
Wow. That late in the season.
Phoenix, it's their third coldest May in 30 years.
Unbelievable.
And, they had all-time records set in Denver in terms of the record low high and record snowfall so late in the month of May. Right. So, I don't know. I guess it depends on what your perspective is, and again, it does really become who can shout the loudest in all of this. In Russia today, says David Schwartz, near the Arctic Ocean at So we have a rule, David. You got to put cities up that we can pronounce. Yeah. Okay. Arkhangelsk, Russia, reached 84, 30 degrees above normal due to a displaced high-pressure system. Now, think about it. The way the pattern is, you have an unusually strong high there. It's going to be displaced by an unusually deep trough somewhere else. And really, the pattern across much of the northern hemisphere right now is amplified. You got this super deep trough that's been out in the west, so we're seeing these amplified patterns bringing unusually warm or unusually cool weather in some places, and yet here we are where we are in our neck of the woods here in the Northeast. It's been running actually for the month so far. It's close to average in terms of temperature.
Anyway. This is after an unusually mild. I know a lot of people will argue with me on this, but an unusually mild April. 2 to 3 degrees above normal. And yeah, it's been just about normal this month of May. And by the way, the Climate Prediction Center's long-range 3 to 4 week outlook, which takes into account a good part of June, believe it, I can't believe this. We're talking about June already.
Yeah.
But they're suggesting near normal precipitation and near normal temperatures for our neck of the woods here in the Northeast, which is kind of nice. Hopefully it'll come to pass. I mean, you don't want to see a big area of above normal, which would then suggest, heat wave or abnormally warm conditions. But
Dennis Cassia, your buddy,
yeah.
A certain popular channel saying the increase in rain is due to climate change.
Oh, see now,
grinning with his teeth out. He's just busting horns.
Busting my horns. Dennis
Which channel is that?
Well, Dennis lives in Connecticut, so it might be. But then again, if he's on cable, it doesn't really make much difference.
By the way, you were talking about doubleheaders before. The Yankees actually have a doubleheader scheduled for tomorrow to make up the rain out.
Well, it's tomorrow.
Yes.
But that's not.
It's not Monday.
What I'm talking about is Monday, a holiday, and I'm not even sure if they're going to be playing here in New York. Sometimes it used to be also when the Mets were away, the Yankees were home, or when the Mets were home, the Yankees were away.
I don't.
And now all of a sudden,
They
there are
started-
periods when both teams could be on the road and both teams could be home.
I haven't. When I was younger, I used to pay a lot of attention to baseball. I was a big Yankee fan, and then I guess over the years, between raising 3 kids and everything else, I just either got bored with it or don't have time. It didn't have time anymore. But when did that start? And where you never used to see both the Yankees and Mets at home at the same time.
Right.
When did that start?
I don't know. It may have started when they decided to have this stupidity, which we call interleague play, like tonight.
Oh, you don't like
Mets
interleague
the
play.
The Mets are playing the Detroit Tigers. Give me a break. Come on.
You don't like interleague play?
I don't like interleague play. I liked when it was just national against National League and American League, and you want interleague? Wait until the World Series.
The Indy 500 is this Sunday.
That's right.
You know what?
What's the look for?
Well, SPC for Sunday has Indiana, much of Indiana, in a marginal risk for severe weather. There will be the possibility of some thunderstorms there because of the front that's coming through here. Kind of bends back down into that vicinity. So there is risk. I'm just trying to see if there's any other additional questions and comments. And Stephen White, 11-12, winter of 11-12. That was that was an El Nino year. Yes, I believe that was an El Nino year, right? 11-12.
Was that the year of the weak El Nino?
No, that was a fairly strong one, I believe. 15-16 was El Nino, and 16-17 was La Nina.
Right.
Okay, I think.
When are we going to have a La Nada? Which is no El Nino and
nothing.
No nothing. Yeah.
All right, so I think that pretty well wraps it up. Sorry, Keith, you don't want to tell us what charity it is? Because we'll plug it. All right, just running back. I want to just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Javon Perry is the biggest thunderstorm lover on earth, apparently. He
I used
loves
to love
them.
I used to love thunderstorms, and I used to love winter storms. But when you get to be our age, I don't know about you, Joe, but when you get to be this age, I like the kind of days we had today, which is just dry, a little windy, and cool, and tranquil, and
well, as I've said many times, the decimal point on our paychecks is in exactly the same spot, whether there's weather going on or not. So we prefer that it's not, since then we get to relax a bit more.
I forgot. I think his name was Klein. There was a forecaster at the National Weather Service in Pittsburgh, and whenever he used to, whenever they would write the technical discussion, not the technical discussion, what do they call it? The area discussion of weather for the next few days. If it were a nice set of days where it was dry and tranquil and everything else, he always would lead off with this easy money weather.
All right, Keith James. The charity is the Eastbrook Middle School PTA, and they're hosting a softball game against WFAN and Boomer Esiason.
Oh, wow!
Is this for the for autism? I think Boomer is pretty heavily involved in that.
Right.
But that's hopefully the weather will turn out to be okay. So I'll say it again. It's the Eastbrook Middle School PTA playing against WFAN with Boomer Esiason is going to be there. And where in Paramus are you playing? Let us know, and I'll yell it back.
It kind of reminds me of, and you were over there back in the 70s or whatever. The Jim Jensen All Stars, the CBS Jim Jensen All Star softball game or softball team, and the one night, Alan Casper.
Exactly.
Alan Casper, who the two of us, we're in reverence to.
I remember this particular show.
And it turned out to be an unusually mild day in March, late March, and so Alan turns to Jim Jensen at the anchor desk and said, "This was a beautiful day today. You guys could have played softball." And Jensen says, "Oh, we did. We had a game today." And Alan looks Jim Jetson straight in the eye and say, "Oh, really?" He says, "Have you ever noticed that it's getting more and more, it's getting tougher to play as you get older?"
And I think Jim's response was, "It's going to get a lot tougher in here."
It's going to get a lot tougher over there.
Right. Oh, too funny. Why has it been so boring? Asks Jacob. Asked, "Why the boring in the East?"
Yeah, well, last night when we stayed overtime to do all the tornado warnings that were popping up.
I know we had a tornado warning up in Sussex County and in Warren County at 10 o'clock last night. From the Weather Service saw the rotation on the radar,
and also in Sullivan County,
and in Sullivan County in the
lower Hudson Valley,
in the Hudson Valley. The game is because of the school lost a teacher and student in the bus crash last year on Route 80. Yes, do know. We were both familiar with that. And it's going to be at the sports complex next to the Garden State Plaza. Okay, great. So everybody, head there if you can to support this. The sports complex next to the Garden State Plaza, and I assume that's going to be on Tuesday evening.
I hope the ground isn't too wet for them to postpone that game, because again, it looks like it may be a little wet early in the day, but also the trend toward the end of the day is for drier weather.
All right. So okay. Very good. All right. So let's leave it at that. Everybody have a great, wonderful, and safe holiday weekend. Do take a moment on Memorial Day to remember those who have given their lives for our nation in its long history. We shouldn't forget that Memorial Day is a day of remembrance.
There's a cartoon, an editorial cartoon. It was from the Daily News many years ago, and I've been putting it up on my Facebook page every Memorial Day, and it tells the whole story right there. On one side, you see the beach, and you see people on the beach or whatever like that, and the husband is sitting there on a blanket, and he says, "I saved the place for you right here." And on the other side, you're at the cemetery with American flags or whatever, and he's holding his hand over his heart and saying, "I saved the place for you right here." And that's really what Memorial Day is all about.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and Joe and I will be back. We're both here on Monday, so he and I will be back, and we'll fill you in on your back-to-work weather come Monday evening. Good night, everybody.
Have a safe weekend.